Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Warzone Season 2 here, we obviously have a couple of new weapons courtesy of the new Season 2 Battle Pass. We also saw a handful of weapon changes and meta updates with the actual patch notes. And so that said, today, I wanted to go through and break down the new top 10 best loadouts you want to be running across the board for Warzone right now. First up here, I do want to start off by talking about some perks and some equipment. So initially here for tacticals, I think there's still going to be a main two options here. Stim shots, still very advantageous. Being able to instantly get that health back is super clutch in some scenarios. Smokes though, also phenomenal as well. Being able to get instantaneous concealment if you're trying to res or rotate or throw off aim assist or whatever the case is, right? So I typically bounce back and forth between those two, just depending on how I'm feeling on any given night, right? And then I'm pretty much always running throwing knives just for the insta finishes here. Zemtexes are also very good. That'd be my secondary go-to there if I just wanted an actual exploding option instead of a knife. But for me, those insta finishes are just super valuable. Now for perks, things are a little bit different, at least this season, because obviously they have changed these up a bit. Now initially in perk 1, I still think Survivor is a fantastic choice. However, Mountaineer is back in the game. You can take less fall damage. You get a much larger grace area or grace distance when it comes to not breaking your ankles, which if you're someone like me who's prone to fall damage, this is a lifesaver. Literally. Unfortunately, at the time that I'm recording this video, this is currently broken. They're investigating it. Potentially by the time that this video drops, Mountaineer will be fixed. If we've covered it in a video, it's obviously fixed, right? And I think that's a super valuable perk 1 option here. So I think Survivor and Mountaineer are definitely the two you're probably going to want to look towards the most in perk 1. Perk 2, I really like Sprinter a lot. I think Quick Fix is also very valuable, but for me, that basically indefinite tack sprint there, very valuable as well. Then in perk 3, Gung Ho, being able to have reduced penalties when reloading using equipment, and you can tack sprint and reload at the same time. Those movement benefits are super great for aggressive gameplay as well. So Mountaineer, Sprinter, Gung Ho, Survivor, Sprinter, Gung Ho, sort of my nice little combination and trio there. And that's for Resurgence or Battle Royale gameplay. But now let's simply focus on weapons for the remainder of this video. This first loadout combination, we got the AK, we've got the Bison, you got a hard hitting, just super strong rifle, and a fantastic SMG here. So for the AK, this build only has 5 attachments. We'll talk about an 8 attachment build a bit later on into the video, but for the optic here, really a matter of preference. I like the 2 times, I like the 3 times. I bounce back and forth between these a lot. There's no real preference there. It's just whatever I feel like I want to run on that given loadout. But as always, if there's a different optic that you prefer more, feel free to switch that out to whatever you are more comfortable with. Basic suppressor here, keeping me off the radar, as simple as that. I do like the reinforced barrel on this quite a bit. You get some velocity, some added damage range. The damage range is already phenomenal, and a 996 velo with reinforced there is fantastic. Now, if you just wanted to lean for an even better damage range or just wanted to lean for even better velocity and up that over 1100, those are viable choices too, but I kind of like the bit of both here, and just it's a nice consistent value for each of those. I also go for the vertical foregrip in this case. Gives me the max horizontal control that you can have on this particular setup. The AK does have a bit more recoil than several other options in the game, so just anything that's going to make it easier is obviously going to be ideal there. Then extended mag 2 works fine for me just with a 50 rounder. If you wanted to use 60 and get the extended 3, that would work as well. It's just going to be a little bit slower there for your reload, your ADS, stuff like that. So to me, extended 2 just works fine, but if you wanted to jump up, you absolutely could. But yeah, the AK feels phenomenal right now, especially after it was buffed slightly with season 2. And then the Bison also feels really good. I've been running this exact setup for some time, and I just love the feel of it. So basic suppressor keeps me off the radar. Long barrel extends out that damage range to just over 17 meters, which is phenomenal for an SMG. You don't need a magazine because it's already got a base of 64. So we go for the ergonomic rear grip. Helps out with slide to fire, which is incredibly important. Better ADS speed as well, so it's nice and aggressive. Balanced stock for better strafe, general movement, ADS strafe, just makes it more aggressive across the board. I love the feel of that. And then I really like recoil springs. It's already a pretty easy to use weapon. This makes it so that you can just point and shoot and laser beam everybody with this. I love the feel of this. If you wanted to, go for a laser instead, if you wanted to opt for better velocity for sniper support or something, you could do so. But for me, recoil springs just makes this weapon so straightforward and so easy that it's low risk, high reward, and just very rewarding because of that. Hey everyone, just a heads up, today's video is sponsored by Factor. Factor makes it incredibly easy to meet your nutrition goals by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. Factor has over 35 meals to choose from each week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and it takes all the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success, while also being incredibly convenient. You don't have to worry about overpriced takeout. Factor is cheaper and, quite frankly, tastes way better, and it only takes 2 minutes to prep a meal. You don't have to spend your entire evening prepping food and cooking it yourself. Factor's got you covered. They also offer gourmet plus meals as a part of your weekly options, which means you can get a little gourmet with your meal plan whenever you're craving something extra special. For me personally, I'm gonna be honest, I am not the most skilled when it comes to the culinary arts. So as someone who tries to be very conscious about what they're eating, Factor makes my life way easier. Cuts down on the grocery trips and makes it super easy to meal plan. That's a win-win for me. So if you're interested in trying out Factor for yourself, head on over to factor75.com or click the link down in the description below and use code 50WhosImmortal for 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. Again, that's code 50WhosImmortal at factor75.com for 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Once again, huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to it. Now, Loadout 2 here features one of our brand new weapons. We will be featuring all 3 in the video here today, since of course we got to talk about the new setups for them, but the Cypher 091 reminds me a lot of the Groza from Cold War. Really good in the mid-range, so like more of a sniper support geared rifle here. So I paired this with the Frostline, which works really well for aggressive sniping, right? So on the Cypher here, I personally love the iron sights, especially for the mid-range. You definitely could swap out one of these attachments for an optic if you needed it, but try it out, see how it feels. Suppressor to keep me off the radar, of course. Long barrel extends out that damage range to almost 60 meters. 56.9 is fantastic there, especially for a sniper support style build, of course. Ranger foregrip gives me some mobility with that added sprinting movement speed, but then also some better horizontal control, so the weapon's just very easy to use, but it's also a bit more aggressive. Extended 2 here, 60 rounder, works fine for all scenarios. And then I like the balanced stock as opposed to something like an optic for sniper support, gonna make it more aggressive and more agile and just more versatile across the board. For it being a rifle, just makes it feel a lot faster to pair with a sniper, of course. In the Frostline, not much has changed here as of late. Still rocking a setup that works fantastic for big map or resurgence here. Again, suppressor to stay off the radar. Long barrel is really what matters here for that one-shot headshot range of 73 meters with this equipped. So pretty generous range for one shot, and your ADS is still 475 on there. We do have the quick draw riser, so that's going to be a bit more snappy and just aggressive feeling in general. Extended 1, you might as well 7 rounds. You don't have to reload as often. I also keep over pressured on there too. Ups the velocity up over 1,000 there. So the hit scan range is going to be great. You got a fantastic one-shot range. It's decently aggressive too with its ADS and everything. Just a very well-rounded sniper. Now, setup 3 here, it's gonna come as a surprise to everyone. You've probably never even seen a loadout like this, never even thought of a loadout like this. It's just that crazy. The XM4 and the Jackal. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, they nerfed both of these. They're still very good. I mean, I think there's better SMG options than the Jackal now, and I personally am so bored of this that I don't love running it myself, but objectively, it's still a very good competitor. And the XM4, yeah, they nerfed it as well, but you can also still control it extremely easily, and it's still very reliable. So the nerfs were not enough to knock these out of the meta. I'm still rocking the 3 times here. Of course, the suppressor as well. Now, I have switched over to the long barrel as opposed to gain twist. We're still sitting at an 800 velo, which works fine in a lot of scenarios, and the range nerfs that happen to the XM4, you can kind of get back if you are using the long barrel, right? It'll be kind of like what it is pre-nerf. You just have to use this, of course. Extended 2 here, they did nerf Extended 3's speed. It's just too slow. If you have this on, you have a 412 millisecond ADS. I don't like that. It feels kind of muddy, and 60 rounds works fine, so I rock Extended 2 there. And then, of course, we got the buffer weight stock. Again, they nerfed the control elements of this. It still helps out a ton, though, so it's going to be easy to use and easy to shoot. You're still getting a 40% reduction to control there, which is huge. This thing's going to still be a laser beam, so no real reason to change away from that. Then the Jackal setup really not changing here either. Basic suppressor for staying off the radar. Long barrel extends our damage range out just over 12 meters there. We also got the Ranger foregrip, some mobility and some added control there, so a bit of best of both worlds. Extended 2 is going to be a 50 rounder here. That works fine for all squad sizes. Then again, the balanced stock for all the mobility benefits, making this thing even more aggressive. So like I said, same old here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, Loadout 4 here does again feature one of our brand new weapons in the Feng. Although I will say, as we always do with the new weapons, every new top 10 after we see new weapons drop, I always include those new weapons. I want you guys to have loadouts for them. Would I consider the Feng to be a true top 10 weapon? Probably not, just because this thing feels weird. It's an LMG that is really disguised as a very heavy assault rifle, right? It's kind of just what it feels like. its movement is clunky and slow like an LMG, but it's only got a 75 round mag with extended 2 on here, which isn't a ton, and the fire rate's kind of slow. You might even be able to get away with extended 1 and not be as bogged down, but regardless, I'm running an extended mag on here because the base 30 just ain't working, right? Ranger foregrip, because I want some mobility back here. This thing is slow for an assault rifle LMG feeling style weapon, plus better horizontal control, so the weapon will be easier to use. Long barrel extends out that damage range, some always convenient there. Suppressor to stay off the radar. Then I go for the Willis 3 times here yet again. It's got clean iron sights, but you're going to be using this thing not up close, so you might want to have an optic on there, right? Like if you're trying to outgun SMGs or aggressive ARs with this, with the ADS speed being 415, with its general movement not being that fast, yeah, you definitely want to have more range-based attachments on here, maybe with some aggressiveness put in there like the Ranger, but overall just kind of an awkward LMG, but it's new, so I did want to talk about it. Then I paired that with the KSV. This thing feels great after the update. Not huge on the iron sights myself. This is more of a preference thing, so I like the Kepler Microflex, just a basic red dot. If you're okay with the irons, you know, put on a stock, put on a rear grip. It would work great there too, but for me, Kepler's the way to go. Suppressor, staying off the radar, of course. Long barrel, extending my range out to almost 20 meters. For an SMG, phenomenal. We're still sitting at a 550 velocity too, so that's going to work great in all the realistic fights you're taking with this thing. Ranger foregrip, some mobility and some control there, best of both worlds. And extended 2, 50 round extended mag works fine. Very straightforward setup, but this thing, like I said, feels phenomenal after the buff. And by the way, as we are going through all the setups and weapons here today, if you enjoy the video, if you find the information helpful, a like rating is seriously appreciated. It truly does help share the video around and help grow the channel. And if you happen to be new here, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, every single day, this is the place to be to stay up to date with all things going on in COD. News, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns, it's all here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and help get us one step closer to 1 million. Next up here, we got maybe my favorite sniper setup in the game right now, the MCW conversion kit from MW3, which still fries in the close range and the mid range. And we pair this with the LR762, another great one-shot potential sniper. So unfortunately, this being an MW3 weapon, its feel is still a little bit awkward, but its TTK is just unreal. This thing melts. So the most important part of this setup is going to be this Jack Raven kit. The aftermarket part for it turns it into that SMG AR hybrid. It makes it perfect for sniper support and the aggressive close to mid range. I also use Jack Cutthroat on here, another aftermarket part for better mobility. It's helping out with general strafe, movement speed, just makes it more aggressive and versatile there. The 40 round extended mag is going to be the max here, so of course we got to be running that. It could be larger and to be more ideal, but you can work with this for sure, especially with how fast it takes players out. Spirit Fire Suppressor will give us some range and some velocity, just extends that out a little bit, so just over 20 meters of range. 547 velo works well as well. And then I like the Night Model 2023 on here for an optic. Not a huge fan of the irons, and so I'm extra accurate with this on there. So yeah, this is a really fun sniper support build. Then you pair this with something like the LR762. You could do a Frostline, you could do a cat build like what we were using before, and it would all work well. Like, it's just a great sniper support. But for the LR762 here, suppressor to stay off the map. Long barrel again is the most important here. We get out to just under 86 meters for our effective one-shot headshot, so that's super generous. Up over 1,000 velo on here as well, because of course I am using overpressure to help out with that, so that's fantastic. Quick draw rear grip helps out some with the ADS speed. We are up to a 535. It's not the slowest, it's also not the fastest, kind of a middle ground there, but it's a good one-shot range. And then we also extend with the magazine capacity up to 7 with extended 1 on there, so you have the versatility of the one-shot range being out to 86 meters. You got the decent ADS, not too bogged down, and you got the consistency of it being a BO6 sniper. The feel is good, the range is good, the damage is good. It's a very fun sniper. Following that, we've got another sniper setup, this time featuring the Kar 98K, a much more aggressive sniper. This is definitely one you probably want to focus a bit more for on Resurgence. You can still use it on big map, but you have to be running and gunning to stay within that one-shot range. And we paired this with the brand new PPSH as well, which is decent for sniper support and just a decent SMG across the board, right? Not going to be a super, like, #1 most broken gun, but it's competitive for sure. So on the car here, that was a knife for a second. Okay. We got the Endless AS7 scope. Not many people love this. I do personally. This is a matter of preference though. Use whatever scope you're comfortable with yourself. Spirit Fire Suppressor helps extend that range and that velocity some. So we have a 67 meter one-shot headshot range, which is pretty solid. A 904 velocity, but also stacking on that, we've got the long barrel. That'll help out with range and velocity as well. And then so will high grain ammo. So we got a lot factoring into that. And then no stock here just helps out the ADS speed. speed, a 322. So the fastest of all the snipers that we've talked about here. It feels really good, really aggressive gameplay is what this is built around, and it's very rewarding for that. And then for the PPSH here, we're just trying to keep this thing consistent, relatively easy to use, but also aggressive at the same time. I like the suppressor, again, to stay off the radar there. Long barrel extends this damage range out to 15.5 meters. That's going to be decent for sniper support, and just running and gunning is a nice true secondary there. Ranger foregrip, some mobility and some control, of course, so best of both worlds yet again. Extended 2 here will be a 55 rounder. This thing burns through ammo. It's got a fast fire rate, so accuracy is crucial here, and 55 quite frankly still runs out decently quick. If we could have a 75 or something, that'd be ideal, but you're gonna have to work with 55. It is what it is. I also go for the quick draw stock. Quite frankly, I'm not super set on one specific stock. Like, this is gonna help out the most with ADS speed, bring it down to a 130, but then your slide to fire is kind of slow. So like, for that reason, I'd kind of want to use something like a combat stock or an ergonomic stock, but then my ADS is going to be a little bit slower at 215. So you can definitely try a bunch of these. I'd recommend trying out ergonomic, combat, quick draw, and see which one feels the best for your style of gameplay, but you certainly have some options there for sure. I guess that's nice, but it's also kind of awkward not having a stock and a rear grip here. Not sure why they did that. Next up, we have a bit more of a fun loadout. I'm not sure why it's showing as an AK, but this is definitely the DM10 Marksman, which is a bit higher skill gap than some of the other options here, but also much more rewarding if you can do well with it. It's got a decent fast fire rate if you have this setup on here, and that means its TTK is very quick. And we pair this with the C9, which is just a beast up close now, especially after the buff, right? So with the DM10 here, what's awesome first and foremost is the ability to use rapid fire without hurting your range or your velocity. That's a con for a lot of other rapid fire attachments on a lot of other weapons. Here though, it just hurts your control, but this thing isn't too terribly difficult to use. So we use rapid fire. That's going to make the potential TTK even faster here. Extended mag 2 is going to be 30. That's not a ton, but you're also choosing how fast you burn through that 30 by having your trigger finger be however fast it is, right? Lightweight handguard here helps out with idle sway. That's particularly important on a semi-auto gun like this for recentering and sway. So just going to make you more accurate as you are spamming this most likely. Reinforced barrel in this case helps out with velocity and range. We're up over 1,000 velo for the hit scan range. That's going to be fantastic. 35 meter effective damage range is decent as well. Then I go for the Willis 3 times. No suppressor here. It is what it is with just basic 5 attachments. If you want to use overkill, this is a very, very reliable setup. Then we pair that with a C9, and I mean, this thing just feels fantastic. Now, you can adjust this in a lot of different ways. First and foremost, you want to have that extended mag on there. 50 round is going to be the go-to, I think, just outright. Some people are going to want a suppressor on here. Some people are probably going to want a compensator because that's also very, very convenient. It's just a matter of what do you want to weigh that against, because personally, the long barrel on there, I think is very crucial. So I like having that on there. I think ergonomic grip is very important, but maybe not as much as a balanced stock, or vice versa. If you really want slide to fire and ADS speed, you might not value balanced stock as much. So you could use something like compensator, long barrel, ranger, extended 2, and ergonomic, or you could go suppressor, long barrel, ranger, extended 2, and balanced stock. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you could build out a C9 here. All of them are going to be effective just because this is a very good SMG. Now, as I alluded to earlier, we do have a gunfighter loadout here, and I think this is really good for the AK. Like, this thing with 8 attachments is insane. With 5 attachments, it's already fantastic. You go up to 8, this thing just absolutely melts, especially because you can focus so much on control if you want. So 2 times, 3 times, whatever scope you want to use here, go for it. Suppressor to stay off the radar, of course. Long barrel helps out that damage range. You could also do reinforced here, though, if you wanted to as well. Get a decent damage range and get decent velocity. I think that's a really solid choice for what it's worth. Vertical, just straight up again to help out with that control, and of course extended 2 or extended 3, whatever you want to run there. But then I also use ergonomic rear grip, just makes it a bit more aggressive if you find yourself fighting in the mid-range. This is just going to add some nice versatility there. Balanced stock adds in some nice versatility and mobility as well, and then you could absolutely run something like recoil springs too if you wanted to. Overpressured is good, you'll get an even better velocity there, which is great, but then recoil springs, you're even more accurate, stacking that on the vertical, which typically you wouldn't get alongside all of these other pros with just 5 attachments. So this is a setup that has kind of everything. It's got decent control, at least better than the base version, insane range and damage, good mobility and versatility too. It's a really, really fun setup that I've been enjoying a lot lately. Also, for what it's worth on a secondary here, since you can only use like a pistol or a special, I use the Sierra 9mm here, and I pretty much just use the base set of attachments: iron sight, suppressor, long barrel, vertical foregrip, and extended mag 1. You don't really get many other options other than those 5. Now, Loadout 9 is a bit more of my experimental loadout at the moment. The XMG, they did nerf the buffer weight stock a little bit, but it's still a beast. It hits hard and it's still very easy to use. Then the Kompakt, a fast TTK SMG, but accuracy is so important here. So like with the Kompakt, for instance, you gotta run a compensator here, because if you miss bullets with this, with how fast you're burning through them, it's going to hurt your TTK, it's going to hurt you in the gunfight. So compensator for better control is huge. Ranger foregrip helping out with control and mobility, again, very important. Extended 3 here is only 60. Typically extended 3 is like sometimes 65, 70. You're gonna burn through 60, quite frankly, even. So you got to make those shots count. Ergonomic rear grip, I think, is clutch with ADS and slide to fire. And then I go recoil springs. Again, just valuing the recoil control and the accuracy there, that being the most important part of this particular build. You can definitely get by with being, more laser-like with this setup on here for the close range. So fun SMG for sure, but takes a lot to get used to. Then the XMG, obviously a bit heavier for the mid to long range here, but still very easy to use. 2 times optic, 3 times would work well here too. Suppressor for staying off the radar. Reinforced works well. You get a 924 velocity, almost a 60 meter effective damage range, very consistent for an LMG. The fast mag here actually gives you a better ADS and faster reload, which is clutch, and you still get 75 rounds, which is more than enough for pretty much every fight you're getting into. And lastly, of course, buffer weight stock. Again, slight nerf to it, but it's still going to offer up some good control properties and make the gun easier to use. You'll be very accurate because of that. And then lastly, here I do have one more gunfighter loadout, this time featuring the Model L. This thing is not the fastest TTK, but it's incredibly easy to use. Like if they hard nerfed the XM4, I think the next easiest gun is going to be the Model L here. It's got a competitive TTK and crazy good accuracy. Same Sierra 9mm setup we were just talking about there, so no need to rehash that. But here, Willis 3 times, suppressor for the radar, reinforced barrel, up over 1000 velo, and a 71 meter effective damage range is fantastic there. Vertical foregrip, max horizontal control, so makes the weapon even more predictable. Extended 2 here is 50. With this fire rate, that'll work out just fine, quite honestly. Ergonomic rear grip for some versatility with the slide to fire and the ADS, balanced stock as well. And then might as well run recoil springs and make this thing as easy as possible, right? So this is going to be a laser beam that your realistic TTK will actually be extremely competitive with, as opposed to on paper, maybe not having the craziest TTK. This is a really, really fun build in my opinion. But that being said, that's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Drop that on your way out. And of course, if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you're in the know for all things going on in COD, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.